Evening everybody, welcome back to the channel. I was supposed to do this earlier. I did attempt it and failed miserably, which I'm sure Jason will appreciate. For some reason it just wasn't happening. I cocked it up so many times, eventually I gave up. So I thought I'll come back to it now and see how we do. The one I want to talk to you about today is a movie that I watched a couple of weeks ago and decided to watch again tonight. I enjoyed it so much. It's an amazing film. Um, Hell Drivers. I think most of you will have heard of it. A lot of you will have seen it. Um, this is an unbelievable film. Directed by Cy Enfield in 1957, made in black and white. He went on to direct the main star of this, Stanley Baker, in the classic Zulu in 1964. Before you even get onto the plot of this, such as it is, you have to get through the cast list, which is just a who's who of who was about in the late 50s. There were a lot of stars in this who were yet to become truly famous. Starting off, you had obviously Stanley Baker, who'd forged out a decent career making black and white crime thrillers in the 50s. Patrick McGoohan, who went on to become TV's Danger Man and also number 6 in The Prisoner. You got Gordon Jackson, who became Hudson in Upstairs Downstairs and also the head of CI5 in The Professionals. Alfie Bass, famous for a comedy series called The Army Game, and a lot of other stuff. Sid James, pre-Carry On. William Hartnell, before he became the first Doctor Who. Peggy Cummins, who starred in one of my favourite ever horror films, The Night of the Demon. If you were around in the 70s and remember the horror double bills on a Saturday night on BBC Two, Night of the Demon was a regular visitor to this slot, and everybody of a certain age will remember Night of the Demon. You've got Jill Ireland, who met and married her co-star on this, David McCallum. Jill Ireland went on to become Mrs. Charles Bronson, made a lot of films with him. She also married, as I say, David McCallum. David McCallum went on to become Ilya Kuryakin in The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and probably most famous of all, but not famous as yet, was Sean Connery in a very early role, who obviously went on to become James Bond about 4 or 5 years later. So you've got a cast that if you tried to pull this cast together 5 years after this was made, you'd have found it damn near impossible, because all of these people were huge stars by then. The story, it's basically centred around a haulage company. They haul gravel on short journeys of, I think it's either 10 or 20 miles. They have a certain number of runs to do per day. They have, there's a silver, is it a silver or a gold cigarette case that they're all competing for. It's like the ultimate accolade for whoever does the most runs. Patrick McGoohan is the long-term holder of this, who does 18 runs a day. I think the minimum is 10, or they kick you out. I forgot a cast member, Herbert Lom, who went on to become Inspector Dreyfus in the Pink Panther movies. Let's see. So yeah, basically your story is Stanley Baker. His character has just come out of prison, gets a job with a haulage company, and he becomes firm rivals with Patrick McGoohan, who plays an absolute brute of a man, complete and utter bully. Brilliantly played by him. The only person I could think of that would carry a role like that off, apart from him, if he'd been old enough to do it, would have been Oliver Reed. I think Oliver Reed would have been superb in the Patrick McGoohan role. But what you've got basically is 90 minutes of very dangerous one-upmanship between these drivers competing for this silver cigarette case. Heaven knows how they film the driving sequences. They are truly hair-raising. I've watched it a couple of times now. The only thing I can compare it to is if you were to make a movie like this now. I don't think you can actually make a movie like this now with health and safety regulations. I didn't realise they were as bad as they were back then. But it reminded me slightly of a 1950s version of Fast and Furious with lorries or trucks rather than fast cars. It's a hair-raising 90 minutes. I would absolutely thoroughly recommend it. This is easily my new favourite British action thriller. I will be watching it again, that is absolutely certain. But as I say, the cast list of this is just absolutely extraordinary. And to have got this cast together at any later date would have been damn near impossible. But if you get a chance to check it out, I would highly, highly recommend it. I'd never seen it before, but I've been recommended this by a couple of guys at work and also a couple of other people who said, you know, the usual, I can't believe you've never seen it, but I'll put that right now. If you get a chance to get it on Blu-ray, there are some superb extras on it. Profiles of Stanley Baker. There's a nice little documentary, I believe it's called Looking on the Hell Drivers, where they interview real life, well, you class them as hell drivers, and it's frightening to think that the conditions that were in the movie were pretty close to what they were actually experiencing. I mean, that is truly terrifying on its own. But it's a very, very enjoyable way to spend a couple of hours just watching these guys driving at breakneck speeds, risking life and limb just to earn a crust. So yeah, absolutely highly recommended if you get the chance to watch that one. The only other one I got a chance to watch this week was this one, Food of the Gods. Let's see, made in 1976. Oh, it's pretty standard sci-fi horror fare based on an H.G. Wells novel. Basically, an elderly couple, discover a spring on their land which spews forth what looks like gruel or porridge. They decide for some unknown reason to feed it to their livestock. The livestock don't want it, so they mix it with feed. Why you would do that, I don't know. But what they don't realise is that the properties of this stuff, it makes things grow to phenomenal size. So what you've basically got is a load of animals, such as chickens, rats, wasps, worms, growing to huge size, and a load of islanders trying to fight them off. I mean, I enjoyed it. I love 70s sci-fi stroke horror. I just think it's great, mostly because I grew up with it. An audience nowadays would think it was, they wouldn't be too impressed with the special effects. But when you watch it, what you have to remember is this is 1976. This is basically what 70s horror looked like back then. So I mean, if you take it at face value for what it is, again, it's an enjoyable way to spend 90 minutes. Who directed it? Was it Burt Gordon? Who made movies like Island of Dr. Moreau, that kind of thing. It was basically very good at directing these kind of low budget horror movies. So I'd recommend it if you get the chance to watch it, but don't expect anything too special from it. The only one I've had through this week is this one, which I'm really looking forward to watching. This used to turn up regularly, Psychomania. Used to turn up regularly, late at night, usually Fridays, Saturdays. Many times I meant to watch it but never got around to it. Spotted it on sale on Amazon, so I thought, right, we'll have that. So I'm looking forward to watching that one. I love the old early 70s British horror movies, especially the 3 or 4 segment movies like Tales from the Crypt, Vault of Horror, From Beyond the Grave. Psychomania would have been one of them. Witchfinder General, anything from sort of late 60s, early 70s. I used to love all that. So this one I'm really looking forward to having a look at. And there's a wealth of extras on that as well, which were well worth a look. I think that's pretty much it for this week. I'm just glad to have made it to the end of it. The amount of takes this took earlier, you would not believe. So Jason, please keep it up. Honestly, have another go at it, mate. You are not the only one. I was absolutely ripping what little hair I'd got left out earlier on. I could not get this right to save my life. I was making a right pig's ear of it. But it just goes to show that if you take a break from it for a few hours and come back, you can produce something at least a little bit watchable. But I swear to you, mate, you are not the only one. And those outtakes, wow. Those two that you sent me, I don't know whether there were any more or whether that was they were the only two, but I thought they were absolutely superb. They absolutely made my day, especially the second one. Right? No. Superb, mate. You really should have carried on with that. I actually spoke to a guy at work about this, and I asked him, "Did you see Jason's outtakes?" And he said he should carry on with it. He says, just don't, exactly what I said, just don't do it seriously. Don't take it seriously. Just do it. Just keep the mistakes in, warts and all. I know I'm one to be talking, considering what happened earlier, but something was going very seriously wrong earlier. I don't know what it was. I've seen this film, Hell Drivers, twice now. I've watched all the extras twice. And for some reason it absolutely was not happening this morning. So I think what it was, and you may be thinking this as well, Jason. I was planning on going into too much detail concerning the co-stars and the stars and what they were in and this, that, and the other, and it was just, I should have kept it simple, which is my own advice to anybody. So give it another go, mate. Honestly, you are the right person for this. I promise you, you can do this. So, right, folks, I'll let you go. Now I've finally got this right, I'm going to move on to the next one. What am I going to be watching next week? I don't know. I'm going to pluck one out of the air, and I will see about that one next week. We'll have a chat about what I've been watching. I am into, at the moment, British late 60s, early 70s, so it'll be something along the lines of Kaz, or possibly even Psychomania. Let's actually watch one of these Blu-rays that I keep buying. I did actually place an order earlier on. There's a company called Indicator that I've got a sale on at the moment, and as much as I keep saying no more Blu-rays, no more Blu-rays, just leave it for a bit until you've watched some. Yeah, right. I've purchased 4, and I've just over the last 15 minutes or so thought of 3 that I wouldn't have minded. So I'm going to regret not having them. So I'm going to go on the site in a minute and place an order for those. So I'll no doubt be showing those off as soon as they arrive. So, right, hope you've had a good weekend, folks. Have a good week. Stay safe. We're getting ever closer to that moment when we all leave all this lockdown crap behind and start living again with a bit of luck. So until then, take care, and I will see you hopefully again next weekend. Have a good week, folks, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.